an island named Diofield, long known as the home of the gods.
Strategy RPGs aren't something new to Square Enix, so I was excited when I saw the Diofield Chronicles. In my head, I thought it would be Final Fantasy Tactics but in real time. Well, you know what they say about expectations. The game is an epic war campaign, one that sees you first as mercenaries fighting for the highest bid under your benefactor Dukende. As you rise in rank and status, you'll take on rival dukes and even topple a corrupt church, eventually becoming royal knights, all while the threat of the Imperial Army looms ever closer, an invading country who seeks to claim Diofield's jade, a powerful resource for themselves. Along the way, you'll make a slew of comrades, all of which have varying motives for joining. With real-time strategy combat that has enemies actively patrolling at times, and ambushes at every turn. The Diofield Chronicles had its highs and lows. While it may not have done everything in the most exciting of ways, it was still able to provide a playable and entertaining experience. While the game revolves around the Blue Foxes, a mercenary group working under Dukende, Andreas is the main protagonist of the story. He is bound on raising the reputation and status of the Blue Foxes, along with his co-leaders Frederick, Iscarian, and Waltequin. Andreas reminds me of another white-haired strategist, and while that's not the only similarity the game shares with Griffith's Band of the Hawks, it does go its own direction, only borrowing some story beats from the Golden Age arc. The members of the Blue Foxes are pretty memorable, from war-hardened veterans, a womanizer, survivalists, and even royalty. Each member brings their own little quirks to the group, which not only work as character traits, but also, in some instances, work as buffs in battles if the right conditions are met. Combat in the Diofield Chronicles is carried out through an active time battle system, with 4 characters in your control and 4 more characters who you attach to your main force, essentially giving those characters a wider assortment of attacks to use. When you place one of your mercenaries near an enemy unit, they will begin attacking automatically. Any attacks done to the back of an enemy do additional ambush damage. Each character also has special abilities that when activated will put them into cooldown. They still attack automatically while in this state. Each person who participated in battle, even those in support roles, gain experience at the end of every encounter. As you defeat enemies, you'll gain TP, a vital resource to the use of Magilumic orbs, which act like summons that any party member can use. Initially, you're gifted Bahamut, but you gain others as the game progresses. Missions are broken into 3 categories: main, side, and character, all of which have side objectives, which are always beat the mission in 6 to 8 minutes and not let anyone die. There are also chests in main missions, but almost all of them have the same thing other than 1 or 2. These additional objectives provide you with SP, gold, mithril bars, and jade. These resources are used to enhance character abilities, forge new weapons, and give new attributes to summons. Each of those upgrades is locked behind side missions at the start of the first 5 chapters. However, after completing the prerequisite missions and unlocking all upgrades, I felt unfulfilled. There was no longer a sense of progression, and the only goal for the last 2 chapters became finishing the game. In between missions, you have the freedom to move around your base, where you can talk to your comrades, accept missions, shop for items, or upgrade your various facilities. Initially, you're confined to the first floor. However, after some time, you'll gain access to the second story of your base. During Chapter 6, you're allowed into the basement, which is actually a free DLC starring Waltequin during her search for power. While the DLC fails to expand on the story as a whole, it does give you some of the most challenging missions in the game. It also introduces a new weapon type, along with a feature where you can see what Waltequin's thinking. Strangely enough, the DLC takes you back in time to explore what Waltequin did. This add-on felt like compensation for people who got the game when it came out and expected more. JRPGs tend to have long and beautiful soundtracks, with hours of music to listen to, filled to the brim with Latin and orchestras, at least in Square Enix's case. But when I went to look for the OST of the Diofield Chronicles, I was honestly in shock to see an 8-minute soundtrack with only 5 songs. That's when it really hit me, and the pieces started falling into place. The loose ends and character plots, the upgrades that felt useless, the short soundtrack, and the unexpected, abrupt ending, the game was rushed. It's obvious the team behind it cared. Everyone from the composers to the developers wanted their game to be a hit. The producer, Shigeyuki Hirata, even said, "We wanted to ensure that the title that we would be developing would be able to differentiate and kind of stand out within the pack, so that it doesn't, get buried within all those other titles." But even with all the passion in the world behind them, it's blatantly obvious that they needed more time. To be honest, I started the Diofield Chronicles with nostalgia for the strategy RPGs I used to play, but that aside, the game is still lacking. Near the end of the game, the most effective strategy essentially boiled down to Andreas using Shadow Step over and over again. And while yes, characters do have flashy ultimates, they can never compare to Andreas just stabbing things in the back multiple times, neither in speed or in damage. On top of that, most, if not all upgrades honestly felt lackluster and like a waste of time. There's also a twist at the end of the game that really rubbed me the wrong way, and is one of the biggest negatives in my opinion. I really wanted to give Diofield Chronicles a fair chance, but I was disappointed in the end. In spite of all that, the game is fun at times, and challenging at others. But don't take my word for it, please check it out for yourself. Me, however, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. It's not offensive, but it doesn't stand out.
I wish I could see the look on your face. Don't worry. You'll see me again before long. I promise you.